Love, love, until I feel the breath of the Spirit flowing in me.
Hello, welcome to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is Frances Beaumont. She's a member of the Democratic Labour Party and the lead candidate of Western Victoria. Welcome, Frances.
Thank you, Geraldine.
Yeah, it's great to have you.
Thank you.
You're a person of faith and also now our lead candidate for the Democratic Labour Party of Western Victoria. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so first I'd like to get to know a bit about your faith and spirituality, and then we'll talk more about politics.
Okay, sure.
So how did you come to have your faith in God?
I'm a cradle Catholic.
Uh-huh.
I was born into it, into a Catholic family.
Yes, and how did you get involved in politics?
I grew up in a family where politics was important and where the importance of involvement in the state to have an impact on the direction that the state is going was seen as important, that maybe not necessarily as being a candidate for a political party, but being involved in thinking about the issues of the day and discussing the issues of the day. So that is the world I grew up in.
And you have a nursing background and you're doing a Masters of Social Work?
Yes, I've been a nurse for 30 years.
30 years. Wow.
Yes.
So
I went to nursing straight from school.
Oh, wow. So that's prepared you to see a lot of life in nursing.
Certainly. It's
Yes.
a wonderful privilege to be a nurse.
It is. I'm a nurse too. I was trained at St. Vincent's.
Okay, yep.
And what about, how did you come about to do social work too?
I was at a point where I was ready for a change, and I went along to an open day and decided to enrol in social work. And through throughout the course, I was sort of thinking where I'd like to head, and I realised that I really wanted to make changes at the macro level rather than at the micro level. And in a way, being a nurse is working at the micro level. So I'd done that for a long time. So I wanted to have an influence in where we were heading as a society, because I could see that there were some things happening that I believe are very destructive for society.
And there's, so underpinning that is your faith. What kind of values are helping you to, I suppose, get really involved in DLP? Do you think that it's very, very sort of, you can marry the both,
Oh, certainly. The importance of human dignity is central to my beliefs, and the DLP always questions if the policies that it's promoting and formulating are good for the families, good for workers, and good for the community. So all those questions go back to human dignity.
I know it concerns you that in Victoria that people can have an abortion right until nearly before the birth of the baby. That something that you're passionate about?
Of course, we're aborting viable babies that could live outside the womb, and that is concerning. I mean, I'm pro-life and I make no bones about it. It's an important thing that I think if abortion is utilised in society, and particularly to a large extent, it damages society. It cheapens life to say it's disposable.
Yes.
And I think that's of great concern. I certainly realise that there are situations that are really traumatic for women, and maybe an unexpected pregnancy or a pregnancy where it is known that the child has a condition that is incompatible with life. But I still believe that there are good reasons to just take a breath and think the situation through rather than having a knee-jerk reaction and thinking that abortion is the only solution.
And also you're passionate about the euthanasia, the legalisation of euthanasia too?
I'm passionate that it shouldn't be legalised. I've worked as a palliative care nurse. I've worked in palliative care research for a short while, and I think we can deliver very good palliative care. I know we can deliver very good palliative care, and until we are offering people palliative care universally, not just in the cities but in regional areas and across the board, people don't have the freedom to choose between a good outcome and a bad outcome. They've only got two bad outcomes to choose from, either death or bad palliative care. So we really need to be serious about offering palliative care everywhere.
Yeah, I know my dad had a very good death through the Cabrini Health, and
They're great.
yes, so they were very compassionate and very supportive, and he was free of pain most of the time. So
Yeah,
it's
I've worked
wonderful.
at Cabrini before we moved out of Melbourne, yes.
Yes. And how do you feel about, the elderly? Because that's a concern. A lot of people who watch
Yeah.
this program are elderly.
Yep.
Have you got any thoughts about superannuation?
Yeah, I think superannuation is important. People have planned for their retirement years, and it's important that people don't feel vulnerable, that their superannuation should be there for them. I think it is concerning if we see that superannuation is being whittled away by large fees, and there needs to be questions asked. We've just had a Banking Royal Commission, and it's important that we consider what that corporate model may be doing to the superannuation of our possibly vulnerable citizens.
Yes, well thought about, because it's very important, because I know elderly are a bit worried that they won't have enough when they retire. We'll go for a break now. You've been watching Spirit of Life. Stay with us and we'll be back after the break.
Blow till I feel much breath of the Spirit blowing in me. Blow, blow, blow till I feel much breath of the Spirit blowing in me.
Hello, welcome back to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is Frances Beaumont. She's a member of the DLP, Democratic Labour Party, and the lead candidate of Western Victoria. Welcome back.
Thank you, Geraldine.
You also had recently a conference with the Democratic Labour Party. Could you tell me more about it?
Yes, we've just been to WA. I'm just back this morning, and we had a federal conference in WA, which was great. We've got a new federal executive, and we'll continue to grow the party.
Yes. What were the strong points that came out in the conference?
We looked at policy and that are federal policies. We discussed some of the mechanisms that we'll be using for, I suppose, really the governance for the party, and we, as we do at every federal conference, had the election of the executive for the party.
And your spirituality was part of the conference. You were telling me that quite a lot of you went to some church service.
Yes, we went to Lower Chittering, which is about an hour out of Perth, to the first Mass at the Divine Mercy Church that is going to be a pilgrim church, which it's yet to be consecrated, so there's no tabernacle as yet, and it is only partially built, but they're, if you like, if it was a house, you'd say they're probably at lock-up stage, and but still the stonework is not all the way up to clad the outside. The interior hasn't been painted yet, but it was a lovely occasion to be there for such a historic event, and
Wow.
many delegates and members of the federal executive were able to go to that occasion.
Yeah, wow. That seems to be that's a very strong thing in the DLP, Democratic Labour Party. People of faith.
Yes, and Christian principles are very central to the policies that the party holds and promotes, and fundamental in our constitution. We're the only party that says in our constitution that we support life from conception until natural death.
Wow.
So that's written into our constitution. All candidates support that.
That's incredible. And you said that there's also a very strong family. So what do you think about the Safe Schools program?
I think the Safe Schools program is very, very dangerous for children. I think we've seen a lot of problems within society through the use of pornography. One of the things the Safe Schools program promotes is the use of pornography. And
To children?
to children, and that is of grave concern. It is a program that parents should be very worried about their children being exposed to.
Yeah, there's suddenly a gender fluidity that I think one of the universities said there's about 37, but I think Facebook says there's about 70 something
Yeah.
gender identities.
Yeah, and the numbers of people who are identifying as having gender dysphoria have exploded, and it's a much bigger number than it ever has been. And gender dysphoria would be considered a psychiatric condition, and it is quite extraordinary that we reinforce a delusion that you are a different gender to your natal gender. If someone has something like anorexia, we don't say to them, of course, darling, you're ugly and far too overweight, you should stop eating, and reinforce that delusion. But in the case of gender dysphoria, we do in the current treatment that is given in some cases. And that is concerning, that's damaging to children. Once you give someone puberty blockers and hormones of the opposite sex, you alter their brain forever, you render them sterile, and you ensure that they need medical care for life.
How young can they get puberty blockers legally and all those sort of sex change? How young can the child be, and can the parents have a say in it?
It has been foreshadowed that if parents don't support their child to transition to their opposite sex through surgery and hormonal administration, that can be taken out of the parents' hands, and that it would be considered child abuse. And I think that is very concerning. Parents should be the primary educators and take the primary responsibility for their children, not the state, except in exceptional circumstances. And promoting a delusion is not a reason for the state to be taking over the control of a child's life.
Yeah, it is challenging. I have a friend who's she's only in her teenage, but she probably has the brains to be a doctor. And she said, "Oh, I can't be a doctor now because I'm pro-life, and I don't believe in this transition." And according to a lot of some medical boards, to be on those medical boards, you have to be you have to refer people to have abortion, and also not try and change someone who wants to change into another sex, or don't give them information, like.
So it's very concerning.
There's no freedom of speech, isn't it?
Yeah, well, and also religious freedom. They're important issues that our society should be grappling with, and considering what the implications are of taking these freedoms away, and what impact they will have on the whole of society.
Yes. So I suppose the health professions and counsellors are not allowed to give an informed choice. It sounds like the choice has to be, if they want to go that way, you can't share your other side of the coin, I suppose. Is that what's happening?
And I understand that also, even if someone comes to a counsellor requesting assistance to consider what their options are, it is very difficult for that counsellor
Yes.
to do that.
I might have to go for a break now. You've been watching Spirit of Life. Stay with us and we'll be back after the break.
Go till I hear much breath of the Spirit blowing in me. Blow, blow, go till I hear much breath of the Spirit blowing in me.
Hello, welcome back to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is Frances Beaumont. She's a member of DLP, Democratic Labour Party, and the lead candidate of Western Victoria. Welcome back,
Thank you.
Frances. You were talking about gender dysphoria and what the ALP have in mind.
Okay, it's certainly ALP policy that conversion therapy is not to be used even if it's requested by someone who is same-sex attracted and wants to explore if there are options to change that attraction in some way and be attracted to the opposite sex, if they feel that maybe there's been some trauma that has caused this and they want to explore this trauma and maybe resolve it. It is seen as not appropriate therapy, aversion therapy, and that same-sex attractedness should be embraced as a really great option. It's concerning that policy is entering into what health professionals can do rather than clinical treatment being based on evidence. It's that an ideology such as social Marxism can be impacting on the therapy provided by a health professional, and good evidence is being ignored.
Yes. Yeah, I know there was in the 80s and all that, there was, the counselling we offered was, about having an informed choice. It seemed different and encouraging people to explore, but I do know some counsellors who now have had to go, who not earn any money because they can't, as a counsellor, help people who want to be attracted to the opposite sex, who are currently attracted to the same sex, but because of their faith, they want to see if there's any issues, because some of the issues that have come about from this counselling experience is a lot of people with same-sex attraction have detached from their same-sex parent at a young age due to trauma, due to being in incubators too young, due to the parents wanting a different sex to what they are. So, but she's not allowed to practice, and she had a lot of hate mail and attack on her website, so she's had to do it for no money or just donations and do it from her home because that's the amount of attack she was under.
Yeah, it's concerning that ideology should be overriding good clinical evidence, and that people, that the client of a counsellor is constrained in what they can request.
Yeah. I can understand to a point, being a social worker myself, of the backlash of for many years the people and gays who suffered a lot of persecution and all this.
And that's not appropriate.
And I think it's good that more and more churches are very warm and loving and open to people of all, but I think there's a backlash from past hurts and, where they were excluded and marginalized. But it happened not only in the church, it happened in every aspect of society, isn't it?
And people should not be marginalized and excluded, but nor should a minority view be imposed on the whole of society either, as the Safe Schools program is attempting to do. So there's respect for human dignity requires that we treat everyone with respect and care for everyone.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean that a minority view should be placed on the whole of society as a truth when it's not truth.
Yeah, I suppose, a friend of mine who's a nurse, she didn't believe in abortion. The hospital said that she would lose her job if she didn't participate. And when she threatened to go to Current Affairs, they let her keep her job.
Yeah, and it's not right that you should have to resort as a worker
to Current Affairs,
to going to Current Affairs to be treated with respect.
Yeah.
And it's important in society that religious freedom and freedom of conscience are respected, and I think freedom of conscience is going to become a much bigger issue over the next little while.
So what would you say to people who are going to the poll on the 24th of November? Is that right?
Yes. Polling day is the 24th of November. The pre-polls open on the 12th of November, and people need to be enrolled to vote by the 6th of November.
Right. When you say pre-polls, what does that mean?
People can vote prior to election day.
Okay.
So there'll be that fortnight's period where people can, for example, if there's a reason why they can't get to the polling booth on the 24th of November, they can vote sometime from the 12th of November to the 24th of November.
So I should get one of the forms because I'll be practicing the theatre group.
Yeah, so in that case, there'll be pre-polling booths, so around in all electorates, and that information is on the VEC website.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Frances, why should people vote you in as a Member of Parliament for DLP?
Okay, as all DLP members, I believe that policy should be based on what is good for families, because they're the basic unit that society should be based around. Should be good for workers and should be good for the community. So working from a philosophy and belief that Christian principles should be central to our laws, we need to return to this rather than having a cultural Marxist government that is bringing in laws that are harmful for families, communities and workers.
Thank you. I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
You've been watching Spirit of Life. Tune in next week. Goodbye and God bless you.